Welcome. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I am an enormous fan, and we're here to talk about Oppenheimer in particular.
Yeah.
We imagine a future. And our imaginings horrify us.
I have 1,000 questions. How comfortable are you, celebrity mastermind style, in your knowledge of Oppenheimer? Because you've said that you began with sort of a Wikipedia level general. Now that you've been through the Looking Glass and gone through this incredible experience with Christopher Nolan, do you feel anything resembling an expert? Because his life is just...
Yeah, it's kind of vast. Here's the way I approach things. When Chris called me up, which was a shock out of the blue, and
you won't be wearing a mask this time.
Yeah, finally.
I promise you.
He told me, and like you said, I had a very kind of superficial, really, understanding of his life.
They won't fear it.
I knew about the Manhattan Project and the Trinity test.
Until they understand it.
Nothing really kind of before or after. I had about 6 months as well, so you just start to dive in.
And they won't understand it.
And there's so much text there, so I just dove in.
Until they've used it.
Then also I did a lot of work from the outside in, on his physicality, his voice.
Theory will take you only so far.
He has certain poses, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That he enjoys. He likes them both here sometimes.
Yeah.
I won't let you leave.
When he's older, he sort of pushes himself out a bit more.
Yeah. You spotted them all.
Oh, I love him.
Why would we go to the middle of nowhere for who knows how long?
For a year or 2 or 3.
The hand on the hip thing was a recurring image in a lot of the photographs, particularly around the Trinity test, and particularly with him and Groves. And they're such a kind of an odd couple, graphically together, that I just nicked that.
Oh, completely. And it really works. I don't want to give too much away. It's in the trailer, but you're standing next to Einstein, and that's a different posture.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
At this point, though, could you explain quantum mechanics to me?
not I hope. But listen, there's very few people in the world that could. And here's the thing. This is my second time playing a physicist. And the first time was with Danny Boyle.
Slightly different film.
A slightly different film.
That's the problem right there. Between the boosters and the gravity of the sun, the velocity of the payload will become so great, space and time will become smeared together. Everything will distort, everything will be unquantifiable.
And it was like 2005, 18 years ago or something. So again, there, I didn't waste too much time on, because you have to be, you have to dedicate your whole life to it and be a genius. And, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not a genius. So, but I hung out a lot with Brian Cox that time when we made Sunshine. And in fact, he took me to CERN in Geneva, and we met all the most brilliant people in the world. But what I was interested in was what all that knowledge and insight and theory does to your perspective and your view on the world.
Yes. Early on in the movie, you see a young Oppenheimer having a series of visceral panic attacks.
Yeah.
And I would have had something similar getting the script from Christopher Nolan, going, I can't turn this down. This is the role of a lifetime.
We're in a race against the Nazis.
How on earth am I going to do it justice?
Yeah.
And I know what it means. If the Nazis have a bomb.
Was there a similar, I can't do it, but I've got to do it feeling?
My history with Chris is that I'll always say yes to him. We've worked together for 20 years, and I adore his work.
Having trouble.
I think he's one of the greatest directors of his generation, one of the greatest living directors. There's no one making films like him. So to answer your question, you just say yes.
You just say yes.
You just no. Any actor in the world would say yes to Chris. But yeah, the roles that I love are the ones that you go, oh fuck, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if that's possible. It's so terrifying in its vastness, and this was one of those. So you just dive in. I leant very heavily on Chris throughout the whole process.
Because he is the expert of experts, and you can ask him anything, and he's got this perfectly just so answer for everything.
Yeah.
It must be such a warm experience going, he's always there.
He's always there. And he, by the way, does understand all those physics questions that you might pose to me. Like, he would be able to answer those. He is that brilliant. And he wrote the script. So, you have that resource there with you all the time.
I love that scene where you and Emily Blunt are flirting over the question of, can you explain quantum mechanics to me?
Yeah.
And I went, I don't know how you're making this sexy, but well done, guys. Impressive work.
That's Emily.
She does that.
Yeah.
That's happening, isn't it?
You work across some incredible people in this movie. I can be as ridiculously, over the top here as I like. It's absurd. Robert Downey Jr. and Emily Blunt, as you've already mentioned. You've got somebody who's not afraid of or scared of explaining complicated ideas on a blackboard, Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Done it a few times.
He has.
There must have been a few moments when you were spending days upon days with him going, can't we just muck about? Like this is tough stuff.
Why? How about because this is the most important thing to ever happen in the history of the world?
Was there room for any sort of levity, or was it always focused?
It was both. There was incredibly focused, and then in the very brief downtime that we had, there was a lot of joking around, and because I know Emily from working with her before. Matt is very very close with Emily.
The Adjustment Bureau.
Yes, indeed, and they're neighbours in New York, and like Downey is one of the funniest people you could possibly meet, one of the most entertaining people you could possibly meet. But again, so rigorous and focused in the work. And like for me, every day, you look at the call sheet and you say, "Oh my God, Ken Branagh is in tomorrow," or Gary Oldman is in tomorrow. It was
who's now done Truman and also Churchill.
Yeah.
Can someone get him Stalin? He needs the hat trick. I want to see it done somehow. But you have to channel the voice as well, and a voice that ages.
Yeah.
How did you begin that work?
Well, like from the beginning, we didn't want to do an impersonation or an impression. That's not part of my skill set at all. However, like he was very distinctive in the way he spoke, and that kind of timbre and that pitch that he had.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
It's an accent you don't hear anymore.
No.
Like in American, it's very kind of like Orson Welles.
Actors are actors, and one aspect of it is the political game.
Mr. Rogers, kind of from that same world.
Yes, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
But the toughest thing is to love somebody who has done something mean to you.
I never thought he'd come up in an Oppenheimer chat, but yes, I'm with you.
He was a reference for us, just in terms of the tone, really.
This is a matter of life and death. But I can perform this miracle.
I spent a lot of time just walking around in my basement talking to myself, as you do.
Is that your secret, Cillian?
Yeah, I do a lot of that. Professionally and just for pleasure.
Just a good time had.
Yeah.
Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world? Chances are near zero. Near zero.
What do you want from theory alone?
Zero would be nice.
You've worked with some incredible directors, including Ken Loach, and we've mentioned, obviously, Christopher Nolan many times, and Danny Boyle, Wes Craven. Do you have any director's notes from across your career that have stuck with you, not just about individual characters, but sort of generally, when you've gone, that's pretty distinct?
I've probably forgotten most of them, but in Oppenheimer, I can remember, because it's so recent, it sticks in my mind. There was two phrases that Chris used very early on in the movie. One was, and I was kind of struggling. It's a very, very complex moral journey that Oppenheimer goes on. It's wild,
to say the least.
Yeah, and he used this phrase to me. He said he's dancing between the raindrops, and that kind of unlocked something in my mind about how to play him. And then in another scene, I remember I think it was with Matt Damon, we were shooting and I came in quite heavy in the scene.
Yeah.
And I remember Chris pulled me aside and he said, remember, he's not a boxer, he's a chess player. And again, such a succinct but comprehensive note. And that's why he's a brilliant, brilliant director,
That is a fantastic answer to that question.
Oh, good.
And without giving away too much about the movie, it is the opening shot of the film. It is your fair self staring at raindrops.
Yeah. There you go. He's a bit of a genius.
I said it to his face and he blushed.
Did he?
But I think it's a fair comment.
Yeah.
No, that's extraordinary. Do you think Tommy Shelby has done more or less staring into the camera than Oppenheimer?
I don't know. It's funny. I don't draw any line between those characters, but someone asked me and Chris that question, and Chris said, no, but he's a leader. He's a leader of men, like Oppenheimer was. But it's very dangerous as the performer to ever see any overlap or similarities between characters.
I'll leave you with this ridiculous thing. Do you
Okay.
ever get people asking you to look right through them?
I don't know. No.
This is where I ask you to do it right now.
No, I ain't going to do that.
But there is something about Oppenheimer's 1,000-yard stare
Yeah.
that is so haunting.
Yeah.
How did you work together to get it out?
Well, we worked together very closely. I did want to do something kind of with his eyes as well, because I felt like he had this very wide-eyed thing that I wanted to give to him.
It's very like...
Yeah, I feel like that's just the pressure of his brain and his head. But, I think all you have to do is think about what we were portraying and what was actually going on. I mean, when they didn't know if they were going to set fire to the atmosphere and destroy the world, he knew when they created that bomb, he knew he was sending it off to Japan, what it meant. So all you need to do really is think about it.
Yeah, sometimes facts really do help, don't they?
They kind of do, yeah.
They kind of do. Cillian, I could talk for another hour. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
such a strong and fierce admirer of your work, and this movie is obviously going to live long in the memory, but I
Thanks,
just want
man.
to tell you how fantastic you are in it.
Thanks, Will. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
A real treat, thank you. And this time, shamefully, there isn't a Langer bar in the background.
You
And
remember?
I just wanted to shout you out for that because I got a lot of questions about it, and some good Googling was done.
Yeah, Cork people will know what that
Yeah,
means.
exactly. Thank you, Cillian.
Take care, man.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to keep up to date. You can listen to my Radio 1 movies and TV podcast, Screen Time, on BBC Sounds. And you can find these interviews in full on BBC iPlayer by searching Movies with Ali Plumb.